Hello, everyone. I hope that you can hear me. So I'm going to give you a little bit of insight now on the results from the Marine Reptiles Working Group for the National Red List Assessments for the Maldives. First of all, as you have probably already heard in the coral presentation, so the IUCN Red List of Threatened Species provides a global classification tool. It is meant as a comprehensive resource to evaluate the global extinction risk status of a variety of species, everything from plants, fungi, up to animals. The idea is that this should provide a basis to inform conservation actions, and it also provides standardized categories to actually evaluate population sizes, trends, and threats. Now we have globally 7 sea turtle species. All of them can be found actually on the global IUCN Red List. And as you can see here, unfortunately, 6 out of those 7 species are actually classified in one of the 3 threatened categories that the IUCN provides. So overall, it's not looking too peachy for turtles on a global scale. The only exception is the flatback turtle, but this one's not necessarily doing well. It is classified as data deficient, so we simply don't know enough about that species yet. Now, when we look at the national red list, there are several national red lists out in different countries. They provide a more regional breakdown of how the species are doing. So it's the basis for actual decision making on a national level. The same criteria as for the global assessment are applied. And yeah, the Maldives one is currently being developed by the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Technology, together with respective experts and stakeholders for all of the species. Now, we looked at all 5 sea turtle species that have been recorded in the Maldives and reviewed all available data on population size, trends, and threats for those species. Here, we focus on comparing historical and recent information to be able to assess specifically population trends. Overall, the goal is normally to either compare how a species is doing over 10 years for those with short generation terms or over 3 generations. Now, sea turtles are very long-lived species, so with a generation time of over 40 years, 42, 45 years, and we simply don't have data that goes back that far. This is why we followed the precedent done or applied for varieties like global assessments for turtles and elephants, for example, and simply compared our oldest to our newest data available, and yeah, also used the IUCN categories. I'm going to go a little bit more into detail now for green and Hawksbill turtles, because those are the ones where we have the most data on. First of all, greens can be found globally in all major ocean basins, specifically in tropical and subtropical regions. They have been recorded nesting in 80 countries and are residents in a total of 140. In the Maldives, they have been found in all atolls, but significant aggregations of over 200 animals have only been recorded in Laviani, Lamu, and Ba atolls so far, with Laviani actually being the only atoll where greens are more numerous than Hawksbill turtles. They have been found foraging and nesting in the country. Now, when we look at nesting specifically, then greens have been recorded nesting in nearly all atolls. And for further information on that, please stick around for the last presentation of the day, where Isha is going to have a closer look at green turtle nesting. Now, when we look at the population itself, then as of February 2020, when these assessments were published, we had identified nearly 1,200 individual green turtles based on a photo ID method and database run by the Olive Riddler Project. 58 of those were identified as males and 221 as females. That's a comparatively low number of adults and therefore potential breeders within the population. When looking at 3.5 years of this photo ID data with robust design-based capture mark recapture population models, we found that the green turtle populations at 6 selected index sites were actually slowly growing potentially, but the association with those index sites was not completely stable, which means that the association with those reefs might be actually just temporary. So this doesn't really give us a clear picture of the population trend, which is why we had a look at specifically nesting activity in the country. That's an established method of evaluating population size and trends in sea turtles. And we've looked at Lamogado specifically as one of the hotspot nesting sites for greens in the country. Data from the 1980s estimated roughly 240 nests per year, but we observed only 52 to 70 nests in 2018 to 2019, which poses a decline of 70 to 78.3% in recorded nests on that island. That's just below the critically endangered threshold, actually giving of 80%, actually given by the IUCN. Overall, greens face the threats of habitat loss on land and in the sea, specifically due to climate change and coastal development, specifically loss of nesting beach habitat. But they're also still being caught. So illegal take plays an important role as well. Take of the adult turtles as well as the nests and eggs themselves. And as all other turtles, they're also influenced by bycatch and marine debris. Overall, this led us to evaluate green turtles as being endangered in the Maldives based on past population declines, decline in habitat, and suspected ongoing threats that the species faces. Now, when we're looking at Hawksbill turtles, they are also globally distributed, tend to stick to more tropical areas, have been recorded nesting in 70 countries, and are resident in 100. In the Maldives, they are the most prevalent species, actually, recorded in all atolls, with significant aggregations that we know of so far of over 500 animals in Ba, North Malé, and Ari Atoll. They have been recorded mostly foraging, but also occasionally nesting. And now nesting is actually the critical point here. So it is way more limited than what we know, nesting in green turtles. And actually, that was also the most critical point for our overall evaluation. When we look at the Maldives population, now we had nearly 4,000 individuals identified in February 2022, 83 of which are males and 312 of which were females. Again, a very low number of adults and therefore potential breeders. Now, when we look at 6 index sites for Hawksbill turtles, we could see a mixed actual growth. So in half of the populations that we monitored, Hawksbill numbers were actually declining, unfortunately. And also the stability was very, very mixed throughout, which again indicates the presence of potential disturbances and stressors. So we've also looked at nesting activity, and records from the 1980s estimate 2,300 Hawksbill nests in the Maldives per year, whereas we've observed less than 20 nests per year in 2020. That's a massive decline of over 99% for the species in the country. The threats they are facing are basically the same as for green turtles. Again, it's habitat loss on land and in the sea. Coral reef degradation is a big factor here, as well as nesting habitat loss. They also are prone to bycatch or injuries through marine debris, and illegal take, now here more for souvenirs and tortoise shell, is actually a problem. This is why the Hawksbill turtle was actually classified as critically endangered in the Maldives based on past recorded population declines and supposedly ongoing threats to the species. So to summarize, basically we are echoing what the global assessments for green turtles and hawksbill says, with classifying them as endangered and critically endangered in the country. The other 3 species had to be considered data deficient because we simply do not know enough about how many we have in the country and basically anything about them. All of this you can read up, actually it's available online, all of these assessments together with the respective resources. With that, I would like to thank everyone listed here on the left, who was part of the working group, who had to work through quite a bunch of literature, as well as Ikushura's James Tennant, who helped us with the application of IUCN guidelines, to independent reviewers who critically had a look at these assessments before they were published, and Gillian, who provided guidance from afar. I'd also like to thank you for your attention, and if there are any further questions, you may ask them now, but also always can reach out to me at the email address you can see here. Thank you very much.